Shalom, Israel, Most High in Christ bless. All praises to the Most High in the name of His Son, His Word, Jesus the Christ. Back at it again, talking about this KYRIE situation. Um, I didn't necessarily want to get in front of it like I did with the Kanye situation, and even though none of my position has really changed on what I said about Kanye. You know, he's too in love with the world. His gripes were with Jewish people, not based on the fact that they have stolen our heritage, the 12 tribes of Israel heritage, but that they, screwed him over with a couple deals or whatever. But I waited on this KYRIE situation because I wanted to let it all unfold first and then touch on it. So here I got this Forbes article. I'm going to touch on a few different people talking about the situation, and in that we'll see what KYRIE himself said. So basically, he just tweeted out the documentary he watched on Amazon called Hebrews to Negroes. And that has different parts in it. I haven't watched it, so I can't comment on that necessarily. But we're going to get into that later on down the line. So there's an article on Forbes called KYRIE Irving Anti-Semitism Controversy, Nike Latest to Drop NBA Star. It says, the week-long saga spurred by NBA star KYRIE Irving's refusal to back down from anti-Semitic content he shared came to a head Thursday after the Brooklyn Nets suspended Irving, and the controversy-prone Irving apologized. Now he's out of a lucrative deal with Nike too. So it starts with the key facts, and it's got this little timeline going down as to what happened. Irving tweeted a link last Thursday to the film Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America, which perpetuates harmful tropes about Jews, including Satan worship and plots for world domination. Now, I don't know how true that is. Like I said, I haven't seen the actual documentary. It could go all the way off the rails, but it may just be referenced in Revelation 2 and 9, which we'll get to later on. And refused to apologize at an explosive Saturday press conference. Irving deleted the offending tweet Sunday and claimed as an omnist, you see that right there, or a person who believes in all religions, he can't be anti-Semite. He can't be anti-Semitic if he's an omnist, which is, as we know, that's not biblical. You know, a person cannot worship the God of Israel alongside other gods. Irving's actions picked up a notable backer in anti-Semitic rapper Kanye West, which we've already talked about, who called Irving one of the real ones in an Instagram post Sunday, less than a week after West was dropped by corporate America last month for threatening violence against Jews, which I don't know if Kanye ever did that. I don't think he did. I think he was just talking about how Jewish people always screwed him over in business deals. The controversy seemingly de-escalated Wednesday when Irving said he'd take responsibility for the harm caused by the post, but reignited when he refused to say he wasn't anti-Semitic in an explosive Thursday afternoon press conference and deflected blame, saying he did not produce the documentary. I believe they're referencing the press conference that we'll see a little bit of later. The Nets suspended Irving without pay for at least 5 games later Thursday, explaining such failure to disavow anti-Semitism when giving a clear opportunity to do so is deeply disturbing, is against the values of our organization, and constitutes conduct detrimental to the team. So, of course, the Nets had to suspend him, give him a full list of everything he had to do to get back on the team. Shortly after the suspension, Irving issued his first unequivocal apology, posting to his Instagram the film contained some false anti-Semitic statements, narratives, and language that were untrue and offensive to the Jewish race, religion, and I take full accountability and responsibility for my actions. So, you see that right there. So, he caved eventually. You know, he had all this weight pressing down on him, so he caved. Despite his contrition, the ideas promoted by Irving continue to fall upon more eyes and ears. Sales for the book by the same name of the problematic film soared. From Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America is among the most listened to audiobooks in the country across numerous platforms. You see that right there? So all praise to the Most High. His word's going to get out regardless. And again, a description of the movie is going to come in later, in the book rather. So, like I said, I haven't read the book, I haven't seen the movie, I don't know what it's about, but I can tell you that, black people in America are Israelites. So, if it's saying that, then it's doing something. And then it goes to say that Nike cut ties with Irving late Friday, walking back on its launch of Irving's new shoe, the KYRIE 8. Just 4 days before it was scheduled to be released, the company stated in a statement saying, "We believe there is no place for hate speech and we condemn any form of anti-Semitism." And Yeah. Yeah, of course they're going to take away his endorsements and things like that. His sneaker deals and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, the rest of this we don't necessarily have to get into. I just wanted that timeline of events. Now we can get into some of this other reactions to it. And you have Ernie. This is inside the NBA. And you have Ernie, who is the handler of all these Israelites over here. And listen to what Shaq says about this situation.
I was probably one of the first guys on Twitter. And when I realized the power it had, I knew I had to be very responsible. Followers, platform, whatever you call it, I knew I had to be responsible. I try to make people happy. I try to make people smile. My formula has always been the same: 60% to make you laugh, 30% to inspire you, and 10% whatever I'm selling. You have to be aware of what you're doing. And you have to be aware that sometimes when you put stuff out, not everybody's gonna like it. Some people are conscious, some people are not. I could tell he's not conscious. He doesn't really care what's going on. But us, I know that the game that we used to love and we promote, it brings people together. And it hurts me sometimes when we have to sit up here to talk about stuff that divides the game. Now we got to answer for what this idiot has done. I stand for equality of all people. I've always been like that. Don't matter what religion, don't matter where you're from. I could say shalom, salam alaikum, ni hao, say bon, because that's how I was raised. So I don't really want to sit up here and answer questions for what he's done. If you're looking at me, it's my job to make people happy. I can't speak for him,
So Shaq's basically like, oh, it's not me. I didn't do this. It's not me. Don't look at me. I don't stand with what Kyrie's doing. I reject all that. I'm all about peace, love, and prosperity, and assalamu alaikum, and shalom to the Jewish community, all this kind of stuff, all this kind of crap. So he's basically just saying, don't lump me in with him. Whatever you do not lump me in with him. I am not with him. Basically, just trying to save his own tail, right?
Answer for what he's doing. It's obviously by his answers and the way he answers, he doesn't really care.
Chuck.
I think the NBA dropped the ball.
In what way?
I think he should have been suspended. I think Adam should have suspended him. First of all, Adam's Jewish. You can't take my $40 million and insult my religion. If you're going to insult me, you have the right, but I have the right to say, no, you're not going to take my $40 million and insult my religion. I think the NBA, they made a mistake. We have suspended people and fined people who have made homophobic slurs, and that was the right thing to do. I think if you insult the black community, you should be suspended or fined heavily, depending. I saw they did the same thing to the kid in Minnesota this year when he made the gay slur. I think you should get suspended or fined. I think him acknowledging the Alex Jones thing should have happened with that too, because that dude's crazy. And I can't believe that we ain't talking about that. We're talking about this idiot. And when you say, if I say, hey, I'm agreeing with this movie, this book or whatever, I'm agreeing with it. I'm not gonna first of all, I don't do any social media, but when you're somebody as great as basketball like him, people gonna listen to you what you say. And there's some fringe people out there, but like I say, I blame the NBA. He should have been suspended.
And their conversations are continuing with the Brooklyn Nets,
it's too
with
late
the NBA,
now.
but they're also looking at, they're looking at how do we move forward at this so we don't go through this.
So you see Chuck, he's like, bring the hammer down on him. Chuck is that type of spirit who, during the time of the Greeks, he was one of those Israelites that said, let's go be a part of the Greeks. Let's build a gym here in Jerusalem. Let's profane the Sabbath. Let's leave ourselves uncircumcised. That's Chuck. That is Charles Barkley. That's his spirit, right? And Shaq is the type of person who would like go along with it. But Charles is the one who's leading the charge, saying, let's be with the Greeks. Let's be one with the Greeks. Let's join ourselves to the Greeks. That's what Charles Barkley is doing right here. He said, stomp out all this Israelite stuff. I don't want to hear about it. He ain't no Jew. And that's what he's saying. Like, you can't offend Jewish people. You got to go along with everything that everybody is saying. You got to be a part of the world. That's what he's saying right here. Oh, you got to find people who speak against gay people. You can't think on your own. You can't have your own thought. You got to go with the world. That's what Charles Barkley is saying here. And of course, I'm not going to get into Kenny, but Kenny's basically like saying, if he apologized, then we should listen to his apology, all that, just to make it seem like they're not beating down on him, right? So that's what that's going into. I got this thing here. Let's listen to Dave Chappelle real quick, because Dave Chappelle talks about it a little bit too. He was on SNL here recently. He talks about Kanye and Kyrie a little bit. Not necessarily going to get into the Kanye aspect of it, but Kyrie of it a little bit. Listen to what he says here.
It's a big deal. He had broken the show business rules. There's just a rule, the rules of perception. If they're black, then it's a gang. If they're Italian, it's a mob. But if they're Jewish, it's a coincidence, and you should never speak about it.
So look, he's sitting here making a joke. This is actually still on the Kanye part of it. But he's sitting here making a joke saying, never speak against Jewish people. You can never speak against Jewish people. Because it's fine if you say that as a joke. It's fine if you say that and you're not actually, you're acknowledging their authority. It's fine if you do that. But whenever you say, wait a minute, these guys ain't really the Israelites, that's when it becomes a problem. That's when it's anti-Semitic.
Kanye got in so much trouble, Kyrie got in trouble.
Great joke, by the way.
KYRIE IRVING posted a link to a movie that he had seen on Amazon. No caption on the post or nothing like that. But apparently this movie had some, I don't know, anti-Semitic tropes or something. And it was some weird title like From Hebrew to Negro or something. And the NBA told me he should apologize, and he was slow to apologize. And then the list of demands to get back in their good graces got longer and longer, and this.
Right, so notice how he made fun of the title, like From Hebrews to Negroes or something like that. Like he doesn't know. Like he doesn't know the truth. But if you've been paying close attention to Dave Chappelle's stand-up, I got this right here. This is from The Closer. Right, this was, when was this done? It was maybe like 2019, something like that. Maybe 2021.
I also saw a lot of videos of UFOs. I mean, what the fuck has been going on with that shit? These niggas are here. These UFOs keep coming to Earth, and it made me think of an idea for a movie. It sounds dumb, but hear me out. In my movie idea, we find out that these aliens are originally from Earth. That they're from an ancient civilization that achieved interstellar travel and left the Earth thousands of years ago. Some other planet they go to, and things go terrible for them in the other planet. So they come back to Earth, decide that they want to claim the Earth for their very own. It's a pretty good plot line, huh? I call it Space Jews.
Now that's obviously in reference to Jewish people and the land of Israel today. That's what it's in reference to, right? But keep in mind the subject matter, Space Jews. He's referring to UFOs, and he says Space Jews, right? So keep that in mind. Because this is The Closer. I'm going a little bit later on in the special because for some reason I couldn't find this on YouTube. But here we go, nevertheless.
This is a wild story.
Yeah.
I learned this past Juneteenth of a story that's true. And there was a black man who was in South Carolina during slavery who somehow got granted his freedom by his so-called master. And when his master granted him the freedom, he also gave him a plot of land. Now, it turns out this brother was brilliant. He had a good eye, a good knack for farming. And he farmed this plot of land very successfully and made a lot of money. And this is where the story gets crazy. When he got all that money, this nigga bought some slaves. Have you ever heard this before? This is a true story. Not only was he a slave owner, he became a slave breeder and employed tactics that were so cruel, even white slave owners were like, yo, my man. He was a wild dude, but he did it just because that's what successful people did at the time, and he just wanted to be down. What a fucking tragedy. How can a person that went through slavery perpetrate the same evil on a person that looks just like him? It's mind-blowing. And, shockingly, they're making a movie about him. Ironically, it's called Space Jews.
You said that right there. So he said here, remember, in the earlier joke, right? The earlier in the special, he made a joke about Jewish people, right? And he called it space Jews, referring to the UFOs if they come back the way that Jewish people allegedly did to the land of Israel. But here he's talking about black people. He's talking about black people oppressing one another, and he calls it space Jews. See, he knows something. A lot of the people in the crowd here, they don't necessarily know what he's talking about. They just understand the callback, and they're laughing because of the rhythm of him speaking. They know, that was the punchline. But he is actually telling you something here. He said, I know that black people are actually space Jews. That's what he's saying here. Not necessarily from space, but dealing with the UFOs, and that's how they're going to be delivered. That's what he's saying right here. So as if he didn't know what this other special, I mean, not his special, but the monologue from SNL. What he was doing on the monologue from SNL, he was playing dumb. That's what he was doing. You got to acknowledge the Jewish people's authority, but play dumb. Like, you don't know you're an Israelite. You can't tell people that you're an Israelite. You can't try to get people to wake up, because that's how it goes. But we're going to watch something else. Look at the title of this video. Now, as you can see, this is an Edomite commentator. He said, Black Hebrew Israelitism is becoming a problem. That's what he's saying right here. So they're acknowledging the Israelites and saying it's a problem, man. It's a problem that they're waking up. So I'm going to watch a little bit of this, and then we're going to get into the scriptures.
I have talked about the ideology of the Black Hebrew Israelites several times before on stream. As we've discovered, it is completely incoherent. It is a jumbled mix of neo-Nazism, Judaism, and mostly Christianity. There's no consistency. There's not really like a strong underpinning set of beliefs. The most consistent belief really is the neo-Nazism. That's the strong, sort of foundational principle there. But let's talk like emotionally. Like
So he said here saying that you don't believe anything. Your beliefs don't make any sense. You don't have any real faith. You don't have any real beliefs. You see how he's speaking about you? This is how he's speaking about you to his audience. Because he doesn't care. He doesn't give a damn about what you actually believe. He's here to make a straw man out of you. That's what it's called in debate rhetoric. Whenever you build up your opposition as somebody who doesn't make any sense, right? You give them false beliefs, a narrative that you create to be their beliefs, not something that they actually believe. But because he knows that he wouldn't be able to counter what the Bible actually says. He doesn't care about that. He cares about tearing you down, tearing down your ideology, tearing down the faith that may be in some of his viewers, right? If they consider keeping the commandments, he doesn't want that to happen, right? So that's what he's doing here.
Where does this come from emotionally, okay? I want to do something crazy here, never before done. I, a white boy, will sympathize with black people. Are you ready?
So he's just saying, he goes on to say that black people in America have it bad, so they turn their frustrations on Jewish people, right? And that's what a lot of this is about. They don't deal with what we actually believe. They don't deal with the scriptures themselves. They just say, hey, you're anti-Semitic, you're Jewish. I mean, you hate Jewish people. That's what they say, right? That's basically the angle he's coming from here.
It turns out, not a great thing. Not good. Slavery in its history is one of the most defining elements of American culture and race relations. Almost everything about the American economy, the way our states settled, the way our politics developed, has to do with slavery and the impact of its removal following the Civil War. Seriously, think about it. The Civil War and a ton of politics before was learning about. There are people who take it seriously, but the parents will talk about, you can't trust police the way they show on TV and movies. You guys know what I'm talking about? A near ubiquitous element of growing up in America while being black is being educated to understand that no matter what people say, you are not being treated as well as other groups.
And see, the irony is, because he speaks about slavery, he speaks about the oppression of black people in America. The irony of this is curses found in Deuteronomy 28. The Bible describes these things. But is he going to bring that out? Of course not. Of course he won't.
That's like a big part.
In fact, let's add that to this right here. Let's just go ahead and get into that. We'll go back to that commentary. But I've talked about Deuteronomy 28 enough. I need to bring out at least some of it. I do it every now and again, but I want to get a full breakdown together before I really touch on Deuteronomy 28, because there's a lot in it. There's a lot in it. So I'm going to read Deuteronomy 28. I'm going to start with verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So if you don't keep the laws of God, God is going to curse you, essentially. Verse 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Right? So not only is this talking about urban and rural areas, it's talking about cotton fields. This is talking about tobacco fields. This is talking about the rice plantations. You got the sugar cane plantations, all the different plantations. That's what this is going into. And it says, cursed shalt thou be in the city. That's why the worst parts of the city are called the ghettos, where the Jews reside. That's what ghetto means. And yet they call where black people are the ghetto. Is that a coincidence? No, it's not. And you look at the worst parts of the cities, right? Are you going to find Jewish people there? No. Jewish people have a lot of money. They live in the affluent parts of the city. They're not cursed in the city. All right, so I'm going to jump down to where are we at? 29? Yes, 29. And thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness. So it's talking about spiritually blind. You are spiritually blind. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. And you're not going to prosper. You're not allowed to prosper. Right? You started to see that in the Jim Crow era, where black people started to prosper, but they were always shut down by white people, right? By Edomites. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore. When this word spoil, this goes into stolen from. That's what the word spoiled means. You only be oppressed and stolen from evermore, and no man shall save thee. You see that right there? So what he's describing are the curses of Deuteronomy 28. That's what he's describing. All right. Yet, of course, he won't acknowledge that this oppression is a result of the curses of Deuteronomy 28. Of course not. Why would he? That would lead you to knowledge and understanding. He's not trying to give that to you. His point in bringing this up is to say, let's integrate black people more. Let's make them feel at home here in America more. When we know that's not going to save us. We in the Israelite community, that is. We know that's not going to save us. So let's jump down to verse 68. Get to the point. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, meaning slavery or bondage again with ships. Spiritual Egypt with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. So, the Bible is prophesying slave ships. Jewish people didn't go on slave ships. That's not what happened. If you look at the transatlantic slave trade, who went on slave ships? So-called black people, Afro-Latinos, American Indians, Latino people. That's who went on the slave ships. All right. And there, meaning after you get off the slave ship, spiritual Egypt, ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, slave man and slave woman, and no man shall buy you. Meaning nobody's going to buy you out of slavery, as was our custom to do so. And as it said up here in 29, that's why I read this earlier as well. In verse 29, where it says, and no man shall save thee. That's what it's really going into. No man shall save thee out of captivity. Right? And we're still here to this day, till we bethink ourselves and repent. So let's go back.
Of the black Hebrew Israelite, I guess, like, grievance. It's the idea that, like, they are legitimately oppressed and nobody takes it seriously. Which, to an extent, is true. Obviously, there are people who take it seriously, but the extent of the, historical and modern oppression of black people is obviously not fully addressed in our culture. At least not by enough people to do anything about it, not to a meaningful extent. So that's a big part. So what does he start with? Let's start over from the beginning. He opens with, well, where were you guys when I was learning about how my ancestors were enslaved? This is not a rational answer to being accused of anti-Semitism. But if you feel a deep grievance, a sense of, you might call it, perceived hypocrisy that your group has been horrifically mistreated, and now everyone's mad at you for pointing out the truth about another. You see where this goes.
Are you surprised that reaction?
It's Oppression Olympics, yeah.
Did hurt people?
Yeah, I think I can ask a better question. It's just, where were you when I was a kid, figuring out that 300 million of my ancestors are buried in America? Where were you guys asking those same questions when I was a kid learning about the traumatic events of my familial history and what I'm proud to come from and why I'm proud to stand here?
See, the problem with Kyrie, first of all, him being an omnist, he doesn't know how to deal with these questions directly. But he is making a good point when it comes to, even though it is irrelevant at this time from this question that he is being asked, they're never asking him about why he and his people have had to suffer for so long. They're never asking about that. They only ever ask him the questions, hey, why did you say this about Jewish people? When he never really said anything about Jewish people at all. All he did was basically point out and say that Hebrews are Negroes and that Negroes are Hebrews. That's basically all he said, that black people in America. He actually didn't even say anything. He just referenced a documentary which said that black people in America are Israelites. That's what he was trying to get people to wake up and see, that black people in America are Israelites. But, of course, they ain't going to ask him about that. They're going to say, why do you hate Jewish people? When, if I had to guess, in the whole Hebrews to Negroes, like I said, I haven't seen it. I haven't read the book. I would have to guess that maybe 5 minutes of this feature-length documentary actually focused on, like, maybe the Holocaust or Jewish people or whatever. Like I said, I haven't seen it. But that's my guess. Right. If y'all know, let me know in the comments.
And why, when I repeat myself that I'm not going to stand down, it has nothing to do with dismissing any other race or group of people. I'm just proud of my heritage and what we've been through. And the fact that this has pinned me against the Jewish community. And I'm here answering questions of whether or not I'm sorry or not on something I didn't create. And it was something I shared. And I'm telling everybody I'm taking responsibility. Then that's where I sit. So, you know, these same questions that you guys ask, me dealing with it as being a melanated, pigmented person all around the world and dealing with racial biases against my skin color, demeaning me because of my religious beliefs, and I'm still sitting in the seat standing. So I take my full responsibility. Again, I'll repeat it, for posting something on my Instagram or Twitter that may have had some unfortunate falsehoods in it. But I also am a human being that's 30 years old, and I've been growing up in a country that's told me that I wasn't worth anything, and I came from a slave class, and I come from a people that are meant to be treated the way we get treated every day. So I'm not.
So to those who don't know,
at least he's making good points. He's saying black people were never supposed to succeed in America. I mean, that's not wrong. It's not wrong.
the thing that my man over here actually did was he posted a link to. He's done a couple of things, but the thing for which he is currently getting lambasted is he posted a link to a 2018 documentary that is an adaptation of a book, Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America. The book Hebrews to N-Words, Wake Up Black America touches on subjects too controversial for most authors to reveal to the people. This book will expose the truths that have been hidden by powers that be in America. Since the European and Arab slave traders stepped foot in Africa, blacks have been told lies about their heritage. This was all by Satan's design, for he is the father of lies. There is an old stereotypical expression that says, if you want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book. Well, this is the... That's a bit racist.
Yeah, they only use that line. Black people only use that line. Black Israelites only use that line because that was a line made up by white people. So now it's inverted. It's subverted. Right? They say, oh, if you want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book. Well, we're reading now. They hide things from us in books. That's all that is. So it's idiotic to bring that up and say it's racist.
Well, this is the book that all black people must read.
And see, that's the only problem that I have with this whole description. Is that saying that this specific book by Ronald Dalton is a book that every black person needs to read? No, the Bible is the book you need to read. The Bible is what blacks and Latinos need to read to come back to our true heritage. By the way, while I'm at it, I don't like this term black Hebrew Israelite. I don't like the term black Hebrew Israelite. First of all, I'm not black, and a lot of the tribes of Israel are not black. A lot of the Northern Kingdom tribes are not black people. And saying Hebrew Israelite is redundant. It's like saying Asian Chinese. Like, you just don't say it like that. Saying Hebrews or Israelites, yeah, that's fine. That's what I prefer, Israelites.
Since biblical times, there has been a satanic agenda to destroy God's chosen people. This agenda still exists today and is carried on by man in many forms. Satan knows who God's chosen people are, but for centuries we have been blind to this knowledge, even though it's been right in front of our face. After many years of research, the time has finally come for all black people to know the truth. Inside Hebrews to N-words, you will find the answers to all the burning questions you have wanted to ask your parents, teachers, and pastors for years. It has been said that the mind has a strong drive to correct itself over a period of time if it can touch some substantial, original, historical base about itself. This time period is ending and the truth is being exposed. Is this signs of the end times? The Bible says in the last days that knowledge will increase. It also says, in the last days, saith God, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. Knowledge is the truth, and Satan's time is running out. Don't be left behind. Find out what's really going on behind the scenes as it relates to black America then and now. Afterward, you be the judge as to who God's chosen people really are, and who Satan's army is really after. At the end of reading this book, I guarantee you won't regret it. Publisher, Ronald Dalton. So, hopefully I don't have to explain to you guys how this is the work of a deeply ill, schizophrenic neo-Nazi, but I'll put it simply.
You see that right there? He said, you gotta be crazy to believe black people as Israelites. You gotta be crazy.
The only reason here that there's not Holocaust denial in this publisher blurb is because then it wouldn't be on the Google bookstore. If they put the content of the book here, as opposed to just saying the truth is contained within, read this book to find out the truth, it would be removed from the Google bookstore. My man posted a link to the documentary based off this book.
I'm not here to compare anyone's atrocities or tragic events that their families have dealt with.
All right, so he basically just goes on to say, like, this is all anti-Semitic, blah, 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 blah. Let's jump to this right here.
Kind of like that, if I remember correctly. Anyway, the ADL, who people like him would ignore because they'd call it Jewish. This is a little blurb they wrote on the documentary, which...
Notice how when it comes to the image of the book and the documentary itself, it's just a black fist, right? Which stands for Black Power. But then when you get to the ADL and their website, they have this whole different thumbnail to it. Now, I'm not saying they made up that thumbnail. I'm just saying it's not the same thumbnail.
So, very subtle here. You have like a rabbi and then a black... So, you have two rabbis in the back and then the black guy up here in front, It's very subtle imagery. The most anticipated documentary film. The film promotes beliefs commonly found among anti-Semitic and extremist factions of the BHI movement, including claims that modern Jews are imposters who stole the religious heritage of black people and have engaged in cover-up to prevent black people from knowing their true identity. While much of the film deals with historical and genetic arguments about various racial and ethnic groups, it also includes extensive anti-Semitism, including claims of a global Jewish conspiracy to oppress and defraud black people, allegations Jews are in part responsible for the transatlantic slave trade, and the claim that Jews falsified the history of the Holocaust in order to conceal their nature and protect the status and power. It's just a Nazi film. So it's Nazi shit? Yes. Yes. The black Hebrew Israelite community is just Blitler. It's just black guys who drank too many Hitler particles and are now Blitler. That's it. Blitler particles. Funny thing is, as far as I know, Jews don't believe in Satan. No, they don't. So how could they worship? Black Hebrew Israelites don't have a real religion. Much in the same way that all the, Nazi trad-cath convert 17-year-old no-fap losers on Twitter don't actually believe in Catholicism and just saw one too many Deus Vult crusade memes while they were crying about how, like, the girl they had a crush on in sophomore year went for a black guy instead. Like, they don't actually believe the religion. They don't have a deep religious faith.
You see that right there? He said, you don't actually believe any of this stuff. You don't have any faith. That's what they say about you. That's what they say about you. Of course, they don't bring out the Bible. They don't sit here and say, well, they don't really know the Bible. Because they can't. And the ones who do say that embarrass themselves miserably. All right. So the rest of this, he just goes on to talk about how he's so brave for bringing this out against black people. And he's, to be fair, he's saying it facetiously, but as we know, a lot of people hide their true beliefs behind irony. So take of that which you will. So let's actually get into the scriptures, because he said that we actually don't have any beliefs. We actually don't have no faith. And again, this is a problem that I have with the term black Hebrew Israelites instead of just Israelites, because we're not all black. We are of Northern Kingdom tribes, Latino, American Indian. We are Israelites as well. There are Israelites around the four corners of the world. So keep that in mind. So here in Psalms 83, because it talked about a global conspiracy, right? But this is what the Bible describes. I'm going to start with Psalms 83 and verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. These other nations hate God because of what he put in the scriptures, because he chose us, because he give us the word. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. That sounds like a global conspiracy to me. It says they've taken crafty counsel against thy people. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation. They knew when they weren't able to genocide us entirely, they said, let's just take away their identity. We got to cut them off from being a nation. We can't let them know that they're Israelites. That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. That's why you don't hear about the 12 tribes anymore. You know, they say, oh, a bunch of them's just lost, and the rest of them, the ones that we do know of, they're white people, and they're in Israel today and in Europe. That's what they say. For they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee. Right? So they all come together. Who is they? Right? Because they say, oh, we just hate Jewish people. Oh, we're just saying Jewish people have a global conspiracy. No, the tabernacles of Edom. First of all, it's all Edomites, all so-called European nations, all so-called Caucasian nations, and the Ishmaelites and the Arab. It's like what the description of Hebrews to Negroes book, where it said the European and the Arab slave traders. That's the two main culprits of Moab. The Chinese big on this too. And I've went into China here recently, so if you want more information on that, go check that out, what they don't want to talk about. And the Hagarenes, that's some Africans. That's Egyptians. Gibal goes into Canaanites. And Ammon, so that's Japanese as well. And Amalek, so that's your Jewish people right there. People who are Edomites, but want to consider themselves separate. That's the Amalek. The Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. So that goes into more African nations. All right. So it's not just about Jewish people. And maybe it's just my circles of Israelites that I talk to. We don't really be railing on Jewish people all the time. That's not our thing. We focus on getting ourselves right, keeping the commandments, teaching our people to keep the commandments with the faith of Christ. That's what we focus on. Maybe some of these other BHIs are out here. Some of these nobodies are out here just, railing on Jewish people all the time. I don't see it. If anything, I see people railing on white people in general a lot, not necessarily Jewish people. So this whole anti-Semitic nonsense, it's garbage. This whole tag that they're trying to place us with, it's garbage. I don't see a lot of Holocaust denial either. Again, like I said, maybe in that documentary, maybe in that book. I haven't seen it. I haven't read it. I don't know what they're referencing. Maybe that goes into some Holocaust denial. I don't see it a lot. I don't see it a lot amongst Israel. Maybe that's just my circle. But this is Hebrews 2 and 9. Let's talk about Jewish people. Since they want to talk about Jewish people so much, let's talk about Jewish people. In Revelation 2 and 9, it says, I know thy works. So Christ is speaking to the church that was in Smyrna. I know thy works, and tribulation, and poverty, but thou art rich. You have spiritual riches. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. You see that right there? So Christ said, I know the blasphemy of people who are lying about being Jews. Did I write this? I did not write this. John on the Isle of Patmos, he wrote this. This is not something that black Israelites wrote. This is something that an Israelite who was a black man wrote, but this ain't some new doctrine. This is what has been written for 2,000 years. He said there are Jews, Christ said, there are Jews who aren't really Jews, but are the synagogue of Satan. So who's running around in the synagogues calling themselves Jews today? Not black people. It's only here recently, in the past like 20 years, and even the past like 5 to 10, that black people calling themselves Israelites. Let's go over, because he speaks more on this in Revelation 3 and 9. This is one of the reasons why Jewish people don't accept Christ, because he just blasts them specifically. The Old Testament does it as well, but they can hide a little bit there. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. So Christ specifically said there are people lying about being Jews. Who is it? If you believe in Christ, or rather even if you know 2,000 years ago, if you know history, who is this talking about? Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. The real Israelites, the 12 tribes of Israel. Christ said, man, I'm tired of these people lying and saying that they are Jews when they are not. I'm going to make them bow down before you, my chosen, mine elect, as another scripture say. But yeah, man, KYRIE coming out, Kanye coming out. And even though they're not all the way right as far as keeping the commandments, they may be doing it for ulterior motives. I know that KYRIE had to cave. He caved to the pressure that was on him. Kanye hasn't, but he's doing it for the wrong reasons. He loved the world. But the point is, here in Isaiah 30 and 20. And though the Lord give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, he give you some hard times, yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner anymore. You're going to see your teachers, but thine eyes shall see thy teachers. You're going to see your teachers. Israelites are waking up. That's the point. You can't hide it anymore. That's why Vosh, that Edomite commentator, said, man, these Israelites are becoming a problem. Because they know that there is no stopping us. We are waking up. Chuck said, man, find them, get them out the league. Come on, man. They hating on us. But it is what it is. Romans 3. I'm going to start with verse 3. For what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of God without effect? Verse 4, God forbid. Yea, let God be true and every man a liar. God forbid. Yea, let God be true, but every man a liar. You got to stand for God. Because God's going to be true regardless. Every man that's coming against us, every man in general is a liar. Is a liar. As it is written, that thou mightest be justified in thy sayings and might overcome when thou art judged. Stand on the side of God because he's always going to be true, and you will overcome when you are judged. That's the only way you're going to be justified in your sayings. So with that, hope y'all learned something from this. I say shalom. Most High in Christ bless.